All right, guys, so it's been a full day over here, but I want to get this video out before the end of the day. This is the Bitcoin predictions for December 2023 based on astrology. I've been doing this for the entirety of this year, talking about the Bitcoin astrology, and so far it's been 90% accurate. Would you believe that? And if you don't, I have past videos that prove that, so you can take a look at those. But this is not financial advice. And I am going to give the December Bitcoin predictions at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I'm going to go through a thorough analysis here. Now, I first actually want to look at kind of where we're set up in the chart right now. And we're probably either in a setup like 2020 that a lot of people are comparing this to, or back in around 2016. So if we are in this setup of like 2020, we potentially are in a position right around here, right around this area. And we could just be getting ready to head up further, as you see there. Or we are in more of a position all the way back. Let's see. Or we are potentially, I believe, right here. Yeah, more of a scenario like this. Or potentially we are somewhere around here. And we're kind of nearing the end of the pump, and then we're going to see a correction before we continue to head back upwards, as you see here, and head into a massive bull run. And I am leaning towards this possible scenario right now, but it could be a combination of both. It could be that we don't correct too far here and we just kind of consolidate before we head up further. But I'll talk more about this as we get into the astrology. But this kind of lines up that we're still, this is June 2016. In this circumstance, we still had another, year and a half until we really shot up into the bull run. And so if it's like this, we have another year and a half before we head towards the peak, then that would, have us planning for 2025, which really lines up with the block reward halving, as typically the bull market, at least in 2020, the bull market really happened around 6 months after actually more than that, about 9 months after the block reward halving, or something like that, 7 months. And with the block reward halving happening in April of 2024, 7 months around there, 7-8 months, that leads us into 2025. So could be a scenario like this, like we saw back in 2016, before we just continue to really potentially see a really bullish next year and a half, which is definitely possible. Now let's head into the astrology, as that's what many of you are here for. So that's what I specialize in on this channel. Here's the Bitcoin astrology. Now let's look more specifically at December. All right, so we clearly had a bullish October leading into November, as we had a lot of positive transits. Now we do have more that's coming. We have this Saturn sextile to Bitcoin Pluto, which is bullish on December 5th. And we are in this energy right now, as you can see here. It has been an orb through October and November, and then heading into the exact hit on December 5th, and then it leaves this energy on December 21st. One thing that's interesting is that we could have, Bitcoin already is, in the scenario that Bitcoin is peaking right now around, 37K, and maybe there's a bit further to go. With this energy, it's kind of this energy where it's peaking out and still peaking, maybe a final peak by December 5th before it kind of consolidates. That's what I'm thinking right now, and this is a little bit tricky to predict. There's also this Saturn conjunct Venus, which was not a direct hit, but it was in orb. It was within this energy from October all the way through November, but then it ends in early December. And this is more bearish. So this bearish energy is ending. So that could lead to, pretty good prices in December. And now let's scoot forward here. And we have this very bullish aspect that of the Uranus sextile, the Bitcoin Uranus. Uranus is the planet of technology. So this includes crypto. So this is potentially very bullish. This energy begins in December, but doesn't get a direct hit until January 4th. So that's potentially very bullish for January. I'll talk more about that in my Bitcoin astrology video for January coming up soon. And then we have the Pluto conjunct the Bitcoin Jupiter, which is also very bullish and is also starting in early December, but leading into a direct hit in January 7th. And this, we have had the Pluto conjunct Bitcoin Jupiter twice. We had it earlier in January of this year, which was turned out to be very bullish. And then we had it again, I believe, in April or May of this year, which was also very bullish. So if history repeats, this is going to be very bullish heading into next or January. But beginning this energy in December. So once again, it could be kind of consolidating in December and getting ready to take off in our rocket ship. Okay, so, and then we have Jupiter trine the Bitcoin Mars, which is very bullish. And we have a direct hit on December 28th. So we could have a very bullish end of the year. We could have a very, very bullish New Year's as we get a direct hit at the end of December as well as January 3rd. Very bullish transits there. So we could be getting ready to take off on this rocket ship soon over the next month or so. And then we have more, bullish energy heading into January. So that's exciting. Who's exciting for a bullish end of the year? It would be a nice Christmas present. I also wanted to look at this. This is going to be very interesting. So here's the Bitcoin chart. And I want to look at the previous pumps that we had this year. This was back in, January, February. And this pump was 61%. And you can compare that to this recent bullish pump that we've gotten here up to almost 38K. And this is 52%, these pumps that we're looking at in the last couple months. We got 60% earlier in the year. Let's look at March through April. We got this 58%. 59% pump, and then in June of this summer we had 28% pumps there. But then let's look at the corrections, because then we corrected down to 22% there, and I'll explain why I'm doing this. Then in the summer we corrected down about 20% there. And then in July, we started dumping to around 21% correction. So this is very interesting. If we stay where we are at, or there's definitely a possibility we'll head to, we could head up to 38,500, or even in the most bullish case to 41,000 or even 42,000. If we have already peaked out and we correct 20%, that would take us back down to about a 30K Bitcoin, which would be a very kind of typical correction, as we've been getting 20% corrections throughout this year. But if we head up to 41K, let's say, and we correct 20% from there, then that takes us down to a correction of 32K around there, or 32K 800, which is would be a total normal correction and is potentially very likely. So yeah, I would say either we've already topped out and we will correct down to 30K, 31K, or we will maybe by early December, after the full moon on November 27th, maybe we'll pump up to 41K, 42K, before we then correct down to 32K, 33K, before we head back up for Christmas and New Year's. Wouldn't that be a nice Christmas and New Year's 2023? I'd be happy with that. How about you? Okay, so now for the Bitcoin predictions. Drum roll. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we're either topping out around 38K, and so either we're peaking out at 38K or we're heading to 42K up here for December. And then we could consolidate, or we could correct. I don't know. Either we're going to correct down to 32K or we're going to consolidate around the mid 30s, something like that, before we head back up to. We might be at 42K by the end of the year. Now, a lot of this depends on the Dow Jones, as we have not gotten an all-time high still, as many of you know, if you're an experienced trader. We're still sitting here. I mean, this is very bullish. Are we going to get an all-time high by the end of the year? We have already gotten this major pump here. We've gotten this pump, which is almost 9% pump here, about 9%. So are we going to correct? Is the Dow Jones and the stock market going to correct in December, or are we going to continue to head up and near the all-time highs, or for the year? Or perhaps we're going to head up here and we're just going to be getting closer and closer to setting that new all-time high, and then maybe we set the all-time high in January, dare I say. That would be the most bullish scenario. But if we don't set the all-time high, if we continue to consolidate, then Bitcoin probably will not go higher than 42K, around there. That's what I'm thinking. Because we have these, this chart's getting really messy here. Let me go to a different chart. Well, actually, no, I wanted to look at the Fibonacci lines, because we have these Fibonacci's, if you can see. Let me, and I'll zoom in. Okay. So, we have these Fibonacci lines that goes from to 38.5 and then up to around 41, but really, we could head up. Let's see. Oh yeah, 42 is here. No? Okay. So around 41 or 42. Oh, I think 42 is the 50% level Fibonacci from the all-time high here, I believe. If we go from the all-time high peak down to the lows, then the 50% level is at 42,000. Yeah, that's why I was thinking 42,000. So there's typically a lot of resistance when you take this Fibonacci line at the 50%, 42,000. So there's probably gonna be a lot of resistance. That's why I'm skeptical that it's gonna go past 42K in December. But if it does, that would be extremely bullish, and we could head up to 46K or something like that. But I hope you see what I'm saying here. Most likely a lot of resistance at 42K before we likely see a correction. I think a correction would be very healthy. So I'm going to wrap up the video there. There's a good amount of talking today. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking as we have talked about the Bitcoin astrology as well as some technical analysis here. So I'm going to be coming out with a lot more crypto astrologies on the Bitcoin full moon coming up on November 27th, and I'll be coming out with that video very soon, as well as a lot of crypto astrology videos on XRP, ICP, Solana, Ethereum, and of course Bitcoin. So if you want to stay with me, definitely subscribe and like this video and share it with someone who could benefit from this incredible information. Okay, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.